Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. And now to honor America, please join in the singing of our national anthem. Representing the three-time Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils, Arlette.
I feel like I'm at a game. Oh my gosh. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Happy Devils Sunday. This is the Let's Go Devils podcast, season 4, episode 34, titled Devils Defenseman, Best and Worst of All Time. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Scotty of SiriusXM, Liquid Metal, and Beer Baron of
Hi.
Beer Baron's World. Streaming live on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch on the Primetime Radio Network. Happy Devil Sunday to everybody. I see Mike Rossi. I see Douglas Walker as we're just getting started talking about the Devils defensemen of all time. The best and worst, the peculiar, the idiotic, the favorites.
The idiotic. Wow. You know what I say is the best is this new look here for Sam Wu. I can see my voice. I can see the levels on my voice over there. They look pretty good. They're not peaking too much. Very nice. Very nice. I like that. It should be right to where the red almost starts. Very good, Sam Wu.
Wow,
Yeah, you see
good.
the Mackey board back there? You see that? Big
real official.
Yeah.
Real official.
It's just props. It's just decorations. Just decorations.
It's like having Christmas lights in your dorm room, right? You know, there's no real purpose. No real purpose.
It's actually a mirror that's set up, and he's just, reflecting a computer image of that. You know, it's not really.
Look at this. Look at this. Whoa!
Wow! Oh, wow. Who puts this? It's like a camera in your own room. What's that? The spy on yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
It's going to be the new. We're thinking we should have a Woo Report intro with from that angle and have like a little circle, like, and how it twirls in there. Woo Report.
Yep.
We can make that happen. We can make that happen. I'll go find my old. I'll find my old computer.
Directed, written, and starring Sam Wu. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Sam Wu.
And then he comes in wearing an old suit jacket with like a bad tie. This just in, folks, and always sorting the paper. This just in, like Chris Farley. Maybe I don't bathe regularly, or maybe I frighten small children. Anyways,
No, for this week it'd be like, maybe I'm not a credible source. Maybe I don't get good information, Yeah,
right. Maybe I started a Sheldon Surrey comment a long time ago. Spun the internet out of control.
Actually talk to me
directly. But I have to say, Sam, I agree. That is a good backdrop. It does kind of remind me of, for whatever reason, War Games. I don't know why, but
War
Games. Wow.
Yeah, and it's a great reference. If anybody doesn't know about War Games, go get yourself educated.
Wow.
Great movie.
Aren't you glad you spent all that money, Sam Wu, so you can look like something from 1982? Wow, what a compliment right there. Wow.
Should we play tic-tac-toe now?
83, I think
I don't know. Oh, 80, that's so much better. Excuse me.
That's how we should end a podcast.
Well,
one of these days.
Wait. You didn't tell me you're talking about 83 technology. That's a whole different story.
It's a big difference.
All right?
It's a big difference.
That's a big
Quantum
difference.
Quantum leaps. I want to bring up, before we get into this whole discussion of the best and the worst, I don't know about you guys. I know we were just talking about this before we got on air, of like the lists that we were looking at that kind of like, sorted everything out nicely of every defenseman to ever play for the Devils, point wise, game wise, blah, blah, blah. One of the things that I try to do when Sam brought up the idea of this show, he goes, hey, why don't we think about the worst defenseman of all time? And then, because everybody talks about the best. So I sat there, and instead of looking it up, because I would love to be like one of those dudes that could be like, well, speaking of 83, back in 83, there was a defenseman on the team that blah, 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 blah. But my brain is filled with Simpsons quotes and other garbage that sometimes I forget my own name. So I try to think a little bit more recently. I dip back into like, I'm 39 years old, so I'm as old as the Devils themselves. So I'm not going to be like, when I was 5 years old, I was really locked into the team, and I'll tell you everything there is to know about them then. I first wanted to think about, off the top of my head, who did I used to curse at the most when I was watching the game, or who would annoy me to no end, or who did I always have like the highest hopes for that just never fulfilled their potential. And then I went to, actually looking at statistics and stuff like that. But I want to ask you guys, before we actually get into it and before we look at the real list and all that kind of stuff, and I know Scotty's always the most prepared.
What are you talking? I don't even know what you're talking about. What are you? What were you?
Just give me a second. Give me a second. When you first heard this idea of what the show was going to be today, what was the first defenseman that you thought of off the top of your head without looking at any stats? What was the first one that came off the top of your head as being one of the worst?
Oh, one of the worst?
Yes, because the best is easy. The best is easy. One of the worst. One of the worst.
Well, yeah, I think we should say that, to everyone out there, YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and everything else. Let's just say we're starting this countdown when we get to the best side at number 4. We all know who 1, 2, and 3 are, whatever order you want to put them in. We can start
debatable.
Them because they're the retired ones. Whatever. Debatable. They're 3. Fine. If you really want to, all right, that's fine. But he's got a number retired, so I'm gonna go. Scotty, and Kenny as my 1, 2, 3, and I think we should talk about who 4, 5, and 6 are for everybody else. But on the worst side, there was a name that jumped out to me that used to drive me crazy. And I don't know if I want to say worst, because this person turned into a Stanley Cup champion, and you could see the talent was there.
I can tell you who you're saying. I can say it before you say it.
But he used to drive me crazy when he was on the Devils, because he would trip and fall and over his skates all the time. His brain had the hockey sense, but his feet weren't moving fast enough yet to what he wanted to do. And that was Johnny Oduya. Johnny Oduya had all the talent in the world. You could see it. But when he was on the Devils, he just made those young plays that you don't, man, if he just had that experience, but he would always trip and fall in the backscatter. I mean, I know he was a young guy, and he went to Chicago, and look what happened. He blossomed over there, and it could be our system back then. More defensive. Johnny was a more O guy. I used to call him Johnny Oh No Ya. Because he would always, it always seemed like it was just like, oh no, yeah. Oh, here we go again. Like, he was always stuck on those late 2-on-1s or something like that. And he would fall down and you'd just be like, oh man, Johnny. But you could see the raw talent. You knew at some point he was going to put it together, and he did in Chicago. And we saw him, I think, was he on 2 out of the 3 or was he on all 3? He might've been all 3. Of the Cups.
I think it was on 2. I think it was 2 out of the 3. 2 out of the 3, I believe.
I think it was 2 out of 3. He had a lengthy NHL career. He's one that I say, man, maybe we just stuck it out another season. One more season. But it could have been that Johnny.
Who did we get for him?
Get out. Oh, I don't even remember.
That was the Kovalchuk.
That was Kovalchuk. He was a part of the Kovalchuk deal. Yeah, he was part of the Kovalchuk trade. Yep.
Yeah.
He went to Atlanta first and then he went to Chicago? Is that what it was?
Yes.
Oh.
He went to Atlanta first and then became a free agent. Everybody was jonesing to get him back, and then he went to Chicago.
Chicago. Good move by him. He ended up winning a couple cups there. Smart move by Johnny.
Smart move.
Yeah. And honestly, the system at the time probably benefited him, who was a little bit more offensive style, to go to Chicago. And, hey, he struck it at the exact right time, going there with Seabrook and Keith on that defense. What's his name? Who was the beast on defense? What's his name?
Bufflin?
Yes, Bufflin. That first year, he won that first cup with them. When Big Buff was back there, just roaming the ice like a crazy man, like annihilating people. Dude, Chicago, oh, man. Good move on Johnny's part. But, yeah, he was one of the ones that I thought of, just because Johnny used to frustrate me a lot, personally.
It's so funny that you say that because I agree. I remember watching Oduya, and I don't remember what game it was, but I can see the play in my head of him going coast to coast and scoring like an absolutely beautiful goal when he was still a Devil. And then when he became a free agent, like everybody freaking out, like, oh, maybe we can get him back. But there's somebody that parallels that storyline that is in the same kind of boat. And I almost thought you were going to say, when he was with the Devils, had a lot of potential. There was a lot there. Everybody used to give him so much crap. They used to blame anything that happened. They would blame it on him because there's always a scapegoat on the defensive side, right? There's now it's Damon Severson. For a long time, it was Andy Green. There's always one defenseman that everybody likes to pick on. And I'm going to see if you can guess who I'm thinking. He's the storyline of his career is so similar to Oduya, except he didn't get traded. I believe he went to the next team via free agency. But he had all the potential, then ended up going to a Stanley Cup winning team, really solidified himself as a pretty solid NHL defenseman. But when he was a Devil, he was the scapegoat. Let's see if you can guess it, and then I'll just give it to you if you can.
For no reason. If it's the guy that I think you're talking
for no
about.
reason, literally for no reason, and he wasn't even that bad. He wasn't even that bad as a Devil. He was actually pretty good, but everybody hated on him all the time.
I think it's because we were winning.
Is it Ken Klee? Is that who you're talking about? The old Ken Klee? No.
Old Ken Klee.
There it is.
Clee fence.
There it is. Ken Klee. Big 8.
No, it wasn't Ken Klee.
Who was the other guy? Richard Schlemko.
Schlemko.
Did he come in?
No, Schlemko wore 8. Schlemko came in for he wore 8 for a year and a half after
the season.
Right after, I think that was after Zubris.
He got picked up at a trade deadline.
But Sam, do you think,
or not Richard, David Schlemko. David
Schlemko, you're right. You're right.
Richard Schmelik, you're right. Sam Wu. David Schlemko. He was there for until the trade deadline. He got moved. I can't remember. I think San Jose picked him up or something.
Schmelnick always sounded like a character from Curb Your Enthusiasm, but that's maybe just me.
All right, so Samu, who's the defenseman? Samu's that Beer Bear is talking about.
I don't know why, but why he got a lot of crap. I think it has a lot to do with the Devils were winning so much that fans' expectations were so above and beyond. Brian Rafalski.
Nope. But that's a good. It's his, and he's another one. That same parallel, and Rafalski to me, and we'll talk about this more later, is in the top, at least the top 4 Devils defensemen of all time. And I'll explain. I'll defend myself on that later on, but I don't even need to really defend myself on that one. But I'll defend. But yes, he used to get crap. He was another scapegoat that would get crap all the time. But he was a producer. But that's not who I'm talking about. Around the same time.
Mike Commodore.
No. Mike Commodore, no. The Red Rocket, no. Paul Martin. Paul Martin was one of those defensemen that used to get, and I don't know if you guys remember this, everybody hated on Paul Martin for whatever reason. And if there's somebody sitting at home going like, no, he didn't, you're wrong. You were dead wrong. Because if you remember watching when Paul Martin was on the Devils, when he first came, I don't know if it was the expectations or what it was, but it felt like, oh, he's never going to amount to nothing. And when he went to Pittsburgh and he like blossomed, everybody was like, oh man, I can't believe we, like this dude, we just let him walk and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you gave this dude so much crap when he was here. It was unbelievable. Everything was Paul Martin's fault. Paul Martin sucks. Oh, he's terrible. He didn't end up being that terrible.
Paul Martin wasn't terrible. They put him in
he
insane
wasn't.
amount of minutes and
he wasn't. He was
really,
good.
Really tough positions. And again, Paul Martin's another one like Johnny, like Scott Niedermayer. We know Needs wanted to play with his brother, but also he wanted to play in a more offensive style. I think that had something to do with Paul wanting to sign in Pittsburgh as well. When you got those frontline guys there with old Crosby and crew, and Malkin.
I mean, you can't blame him for that. But it
would be ridiculous. Both Rafalski and Martin, and you should hear the crowd. I remember those days.
Oh,
shoot it
all the time.
Shoot it. And then I remember Rafalski had like a power play goal, and then the Devils were on the power play again. And there was one sequence where he didn't keep the puck over the blue line, and they had to reset, and the crowd's like booing. It's like this guy just gives you a power play goal, and you're still on it. But anyway,
I know we're supposed to talk about the worst, but I always found those storylines to be the most interesting because Paul Martin was a Devil from 2002, 2003. It was his first year. Or 03-04, I'm sorry, was his first year. And then from 05, because then they had the strike, but then from 05 to 2009, 2010 was his last year as a Devil. And then he went to Pittsburgh, had a bunch of great years at Pittsburgh. Then he went to San Jose and blah, 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 blah. But he was one of those guys. So if you look at it, if Paul Martin in his prime and Brian Rafalski in his prime, we had some pretty good pieces there, but it was like there was a mindset of Devil fans that were like, these guys suck. They're no good. They'll never be a Stevens. That's why you always feel bad for anybody that plays goal after Brody, because it was like after Brodeur retired, or after he went to the Blues and then retired. Corey Schneider, he could have had 10 shutouts in a row, and he would never. There was so many fans that just hated him because he took over the net for an absolute legend. And I don't know if that was like the same mentality for a lot of these defensemen, but there's a lot of guys that came through that were just like, they were good. Johnny Oduya, Paul Martin, Brian Rafalski, to name the 3, that were good, but just always got hated on.
Who frustrated you the most?
Oh, Paul Martin.
Let's go around.
No.
Well, I mean, I think that might have been mine with Johnny. Like, I would get frustrated with Johnny Oduya. I'll tell you who frustrated me. Some guys that frustrated me the most to see them walk. Where is he? Old Sheldon Surrey.
Oh,
Didn't want to see him go.
no.
Jason Smith.
That's a sore spot. That's a sore spot.
Willie Mitchell. Mike Commodore was a serviceable defenseman for many years. Sheldon Brookbank. Oh, man. Old Sheldon Brookbank. I thought that guy was going to be like the next big thing. Mark Fraser, I thought was always a good serviceable defenseman and someone who would like step up if needed to drop the gloves. I always thought, I don't know, I thought he was a little underrated, like for a good bottom line defenseman. Mike Motto. Motto used to
drive me crazy. Mike Motto
drive me friggin' crazy. Mike Motto, Mark Fane as well.
Mark Fane. That's the one. That's the one I was going to say. Mark Fane.
Henrik Talinder as well. Talinder would drive me crazy.
He was another one that had high expectations and felt like he never actually met those expectations, though.
Oh, my. The Reverend. Love the Reverend Ben Lovejoy in Normal Life and everything else. Maybe 15 years ago. But, oh, man, I saw him, like, crawling on all fours at some times, like, on defense. And let me tell you, he was hung out to the Wolves there on our team there at the end of his career. But, I mean, there was just points where it's just like, all right, Ben, you lost a step, buddy. You know, you lost a step there. And every time I knew Ben Lovejoy was going to be at the lineup, I was like, he's going to be eating some big, big minutes. And it's like, that's going to be trouble. That's going to be trouble for this team. That's not going to be good. Love Ben. Super cool guy outside of hockey world. And like I said, maybe if he was on the team 10 years ago, it'd be a completely different story. But that was one of those Ray, retreads from the Pittsburgh days. And Ben Lovejoy, if you want to talk about frustrating, I'll move on from Johnny Oduya. Ben Lovejoy used to frustrate me.
That's Lovejoy used to frustrate me, but then there was always those guys that, and I think this is a conversation, when we get into the wingers and things like that, of like the guys that you had super expectations for that never amounted to anything or never really panned out for anything. Like you nailed one, like Henrik Talinder was one of those guys that I always thought had some kind of potential, but never like panned out to be anything. Peter Harold had flashes of like pretty good play, and you're like, oh,
he was a good fifth, sixth defenseman.
That's what I'm saying. He had those flashes where you're like, maybe this kid could work out, or maybe he could kind of find a role, and never could get his.
Brad Bombardier.
Oh yeah, what's funny is I was looking at Miko Mueller, to speak of like going to more recent Devils that were on the team.
He's got
Miko
some game
Mueller,
totals, surprisingly.
He does actually. He's on the list. He's 47th in points, which is kind of sad, but whatever. With 22 points, but that's neither here nor there. But when the Devils traded for him, there was a lot of people that have a lot more knowledge than I do that were saying, "Oh, that's a steal. That's a good a good trade," because his upside they felt was pretty high, and just he had flashes in his game where you're like, "Oh man, if this kid if he could pick it up and play at the next level, or if he could be at that next tier, you could see something okay. Like, all right, hey, maybe we have something there." But you would get frustrated with his play. And then he was another one that everybody just flat out hated. They're like, I can't believe we gave up with a second-round pick or something like that. We gave up a second-round pick for that guy. And it's like, all right, guys. Like, you realize how many second-round picks actually make it to the NHL? Like, you're getting a somewhat established defenseman. But
how about Brad Lucovic? Remember him?
I do remember him, yes. That's so fun. Some of these names that you pull up, I'm like...
You know what? Well, I want to talk a little bit more about some of these. Like, I feel like these are the guys that I feel are more underrated. I mean, I think Andy Green and Brian Rafalski. I think they are where they should be on the on on the totem pole there of Devils defensemen. But here's some unsung heroes that I think are probably top 10 names. Maybe not top 5, but top 10 names. And I know Greg on the Facebook page wants to know about this too. So I'm going to give you some names here. We already talked about Oduya. We talked about Paul Martin. Our boy Adam Larson. Tommy Abilene.
Oh, yeah.
Colin
and
White.
He had Tommy Abilene with 2 stints with the Devils, by the way.
2 stints. Colin White and Lyle Odeline.
Yes.
And Slava Fetisov.
And Fetisov, that was big for other reasons too, but I agree. I completely agree. And those are some of the names. I mean, Colin White, not so much, also friend of the podcast, Colin White.
We love Big Colin, but
well, no, but yeah, I agree with you. Some of these,
Colin he didn't win a cup, did he? Was he?
Yes, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. 03.
He won an 03. Oh, he was the rookie. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Well, but still, I think sometimes he's one I think gets overlooked in the conversation when you have Stevens, Niedermeier, Daneyko, Green, Rafalski, Bruce Driver, Bryce Salvador as well. All of a sudden now, the Odelines, the Colin Whites, the big, more tough, rugged, stay-home defensemen that weren't racking up the points and stuff like that. Now all of a sudden I feel like those are the guys that really do get underrated and underappreciated. I think Green and Rafalski, and Driver, they're all top. That's your top 6 there, and then you could start, wondering, hey, Salvador, hey, White, Tommy Abilene, where you want to put some of the, I think they're all pretty, if you want to flip Dano and Rafalski, hey, whatever, but I'm going to say my top 3 would be the Scotties and Dano. And then after that, you got some interesting names to start thinking about.
So
we all know
Kevin Dean? Remember Kevin Dean in the 95?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Kevin Dean.
He ate up a lot of minutes.
He was only one season, right? Sean Chambers as well.
Bruce Driver.
Sean Chambers came in for the cup run in 95, and he was only there in 96 then, I think, after that, right? He was only there for that season and a half.
I got a question for you. Did John Merrill ever frustrate you?
Wait, can we talk about that? On him. We're going to talk about that 1 second. No. The only reason I'm saying that is because there's something that I have to say about John Merrill specifically, and I was looking at him, and I'm glad you brought him up. But Colin White, his rookie season was 99-2000. And he
played, all right, never mind.
He played 82 in 2000-2001, so he was, yeah. But he was a part. You were right. He was a part of that rookie class with Gomer and crap like that. Mm-hmm. So
I'm bad with the math numbers. Remember,
in college, John Merrill was a beast, an absolute beast, and he was very, very Michigan, very highly touted. Got into some trouble off the ice that kind of derailed his professional career a little bit. But when the Devils drafted John Merrill, I was another one reading a lot of articles holy cow, I can't believe he fell this far. If he didn't have these off the ice things, he'd be a surefire first rounder. I forget where the Devils got him. I want to say maybe the second, third, maybe even later. I could be wrong about that. But when they drafted him, there was a lot of people saying if he didn't have that other crap going on, he could have been, easily a first round defenseman. He was one of those kids that I was looking at his style of play, looking at who he is, big nasty defenseman. He had a ton of potential. And then when he came to the Devils, that was another guy. And still professionally, he's a serviceable defenseman. He's not terrible. Obviously he was just on, Vegas, and then he went to this past year. He was in Montreal and went to the Cup with the Canadiens. He didn't play a ton of minutes. I think he got into a handful of games there. But John Merrill to me is one of those guys that the potential is way up here, but he just kind of was all right, whatever.
I would say the same with who was this guy? I think he came at the same time. Seth Helgeson He was like a big.
That was a
Swedish
big. He was a
kid.
big boy. Big boy.
He'd like to hit people. We
yeah.
Like, oh, I like this. So I'm dropped the gloves a couple times in some preseason games, and he was such just like a monster that he just kind of manhandled some people. And you're like, oh, I like that. I like this. I like having this person on the back line there. Like, that's some good protection. All right. But yeah, he never really amounted to too much.
You remember one of his he played one of the games he played for the Devils. He got stuck out there on one of the longest shifts I've ever seen my entire life. I think he was out there for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, anybody that's ever played hockey, whether you've played like even roller hockey, 2 minutes and 30 seconds is an eternity when you're out there skating, especially they were basically stuck in their zone the entire time. And that's one of the reasons why he couldn't get out. And he was, you saw a broken man going off the ice because 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I remember I think it was Dano at this time was just commenting on like this kid, I can't just bewildered that he was still out there the entire time. But Helgeson, that's another one. Yeah, I agree. He was another one. We had a lot of high hopes. Or Steven Santini. Santini was another one. He was another one recently. Carenti. Oh, yeah. Helgeson.
Matt Taramina. Remember Matt Taramina?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Andre Zuzin. Remember Andre Zuzin?
Yep.
I forgot we had Carl Rakunik there for a little bit. Vitaly Wisniewski.
We had Thomas Caberlet for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Sasha Gok. Remember Sasha Gok? I thought he was a forward. But he was a defenseman. I didn't even realize. Malakov. Oh, man. Malakov. Loved Malakov the first stint. Was very, very disappointed in the second Malakov stint there. That one did not work out so well.
David Schlemko.
Urbom.
That was wait. Urbom was another kid with a ton of potential. Urbom was supposed to be the next. Yeah, Eric Jelena. Yeah. Eric Jelena, who had a bomb of a shot.
Yeah, there was 3 of them, right? It was Urbom, Jelena, and someone else that.
And Helgeson, or not Helgeson. Helgeson.
Helgeson. That's what it was. Yeah,
Helgeson. Curtis Foster. Remember him?
Curtis Foster.
Mark Fraser. So there's something funny that I was reading about Mark Fraser. Mark Fraser basically ended up being pretty much like a brawler or like a scrapper. You go out there and drop the mitts. Okay on the defensive side of it. Not really good. Not really great. I hate this kind of thing because but I mean he was a guy that I think the Devils had higher hopes for and just never never panned out.
Yeah.
But
he was a gamer though. Like he gave it his all, but like he had a certain ceiling, at the NHL level, that looks really good at the, AHL level. But, I thought Mark Fraser, I thought was a great like bottom line defense because he brought that toughness. Like that dude was stick up for everybody.
Big dude.
I know. Pretty sure his dad had like the military background and everything like that. Like, I don't know. I just saw a couple of interviews with him. He just seemed like a straight up dude. And like, yeah, he just had everybody's back, and it was just, I don't know. He wasn't like, he wasn't the greatest defenseman, but like in a bottom pair, like, and go out there on maybe some penalty kill and block some shots and stuff like that. But yeah, we definitely had higher hopes for him. I'll definitely say, 100%.
Yeah, it was crazy about him too. Is like the people could always do the redraft. Was he a 2-center? I think he was. The second stint was not that long. Let's take a look. I got it pulled up right here. Let's pull up the old stats. He let's see. He came up. He was basically back and forth between the Devils and Lowell at the time, and then Albany, and then he made the Devils 2 years in a row, and then he ended up on the Syracuse Crunch, then the Marlies, and he was in the Maple Leafs for a couple of years. So he was an AHLer, a career AHLer. He never really his second stint was 2014, 2015 with the Devils. But you look at, so I was reading an article about a few of these, top 10, top worst, whatever, blah, 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 Devils. And in the article, they brought up Mark Fraser, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I'm reading it, and they talk about, like, I bet the Devils wish they would have drafted so-and-so and Keith Yandel. And I'm like, yeah, it's easy to do that. It's easy to sit there and, like, look at a draft afterwards. Like, I love Pavel Zacha, but you could all sit here and agree that wouldn't we rather have Matt Barzal than Pavel Zacha? I think so. But that's you could look at a draft and there's kids that come out and they look like absolute studs. They hit the NHL. It's just a different world. You can't keep up with the speed. You're playing with the best in the world. And all of a sudden you went from the big man on the pond and you're like nobody, out on the NHL surface. So it happens. Evaluation of talent. I think they struck out with him, but whatever. You can't just look at a draft and be like, oh yeah, we screwed up with Fraser because we could add Keith Yandel, but who knew that was going to pan out the way it did?
Whatever. It is what it is. Fraser still played over 200 games or around 200 games for the Devils. So, good for him. They got some service out of him. Like I said, bottom line, defenseman, but still, tough as nails and provided that protection for a lot of guys on the team. And
132.
Whatever. 132?
132.
All right. Oh yeah, he's in my over 100 category over here. Over 100 games played with Jason Smith and Sheldon Surrey and here's another one. Used to drive me crazy. Would sometimes have incredible poke check and a wicked shot. And then other times he would just get burned left and right. Marig Zidlitsky.
Oh, yeah.
Man. I know he was Patty's friend. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. We got it. But, oh, man. When he got burned, he got burned. He just that was it. He had a wicked shot. That wrist shot would, boom, hear it clank off the iron and stuff. Just, man, that was nasty. And he was really good with his stick. Made some really good poke checks, but he get overpowered real easy, And in his later days there, he would get burned on that back check. He once he got going, he had some skates, but he didn't have that that first, that 1-2 step there that he did in his earlier years. But man, would he drive me crazy when he would get burned on those plays. Cool.
So here's a few names that as we're going through this list of all-time Devils defensemen, stuff like that I thought were kind of fun to point out. One, Phil Housley. Phil Housley played for the Devils. He was a New Jersey Devil in 1995-96 was Phil Housley. And then looking at this, Joel Quenneville. Joel Quenneville was a Colorado Rocky before he was a Devil. Obviously, the Rockies became the Devils. But he was a Devil in their inaugural season. So that was kind of fun to find. And then there was one other one. Bump, 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 bump. Yeah, that was Go Power Rangers. Igor Yakulev. Remember Igor Yakulev? Oh,
no.
Igor. How do you not remember Igor Yakulev?
Because he probably only played 2 games.
Something like that. Oh my God, I can't find it.
Well, let's talk about some of the.
You remember Dalton Prout?
Dalton Prout, yeah. Let's talk about some of the top names. Okay. Because we've been talking a lot about everyone on all these other guys. Let's talk about some of the best guys here.
Tyler Eckford. I'm sorry, Tyler Eckford. That was the name I was looking for of potentials. Kid with a ton of potential, never came out to anything. Tyler Eckford.
Okay.
I remember that kid.
That's another one. I'll give you that one.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I'll give you that one.
So jump to the top as I'm looking for this, so you can jump to the top.
So I think obviously you got the Scotties up at 1 and 2. Now I just refer to it as the Scotties because it's hard to pick which one you want as number 1 and which one you want as number 2. If there was ever a 1A and 1A a situation right here, like this could be it. With Stevens just being your powerful force and just giving you so much, your leader, but then also Niedermeier is the same thing, and proven to be, one of the greatest defensemen of all time. Mm-hmm. Both of them. It's incredible. So it's hard to choose which one you want as 1 and 2. I think you got to go Stevens just for the longevity. But actually, I think Niedermeier played more games than Stevens.
I'll tell you right now. No.
Stevens had 956 and Niedermeier had 892. Now, career-wise,
okay.
I don't think it's close either. I think Stevens had way more than I think Niedermeier had like 1,200 something. Yeah, Stevens had 1,635. Good Lord. That's a lot of hockey.
956. Right. And nice to note as well, Andy Green is actually in third place there with 923 games played for the franchise. And then some names that we were just talking about. Colin White in fifth place, 743. Bruce Driver, 702 games. Brian Rafalski, 541. Tommy Alberline, 539. And of course, I'm sure Sam Wu was very, very disappointed to see this information, because we all know if Sam Wu was the GM, he would have let Damon Severson be exposed in the Seattle Kraken expansion drafts. I'm sure he's upset to know that Damon Severson is now in 9th place. Games played. Defenseman with 486.
There you go.
He's got a chance to really, being that he started when he was 18 years old, he's really got a chance if he resigns, if we sign him, long term after this. He may have a chance up there. But Paul Martin, Fetisov, Bryce Salvador, Randy Velchek. We didn't really talk about him too much. Great radio color commentary guy.
One of the best.
John Moore. John Moore is someone who the nerds would get very frustrated with over and over again.
Yes.
Come on, Sam Wu. I know you're back there. I know you had frustrations with John Moore.
Ansi Samela. You remember him? Ansi Samela.
Oh, Ansi Samela. But let's talk about the top here. We got Stevens. We'll just say Stevens, Niedermeier, Dano are your top 3. Okay? If you want to debate Dano, whatever. But let's just talk about the ones after that. Brian Rafalski, Andy Green, Bruce Driver, Colin White, Tommy Alberline, Bryce Salvador, Fetisov, Lyle Oderline. Where do you put all these guys? All these guys?
So, what's really funny is I was reading, like I said, preparing for this show tonight, I just kind of like going over a bunch of different articles and like kind of like just finding time to read certain things here and there. I'm not going to bring it up to who wrote it or where. I don't even want to like actually read into the article itself, because I don't know if I agree with it. But I was reading an article about how Bryce Salvador was probably one of the most overrated Devils defensemen that we ever had. Due to the amount of time he was on the ice because of injury, due to the production on the ice and everything else, and how he wasn't really that much of a leader and blah, 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 blah. Like I said, I don't really want to give this person credit for this article, so I'm not going to say where I saw this or who put it out there. I disagree with a lot of it. I disagree. I disagree with a lot of it. Yes. Like I said, I disagree with a lot of it. But I mean, if you're looking at the top of the list and you're looking at who should be at the top, like 4 or 5. So when we were getting into the show, we were talking about it a little bit, and I said Brian Rafalski could be as high as number 3 on that list. Now, one of the things I want to point out, we're going to look at stats real quick. All right, just total points. So Scott Niedermayer leads the way with points with 476 total points. Okay, so goals and assists for those that don't know what we're talking about, and if you don't know, now you know. Scott Stevens is second with 430. Bruce Driver is third with 399. Friend of the podcast, Bruce Driver. And Brian Rafalski's at 311. Now, 44 goals, 267 assists. I'm going to point something out that I found really, really interesting. Scott Niedermayer had 476 points in 892 games with the Devils. Okay, so that's almost like 0.5 points per game.
Right. Rafalski got it in 541.
Yes. Brian Rafalski got 331 and 541. But career-wise, this is where I found it interesting. Career-wise, Rafalski ended up playing, and I'll skip ahead down here, 833 games. Could you tell me how many points that he ended his career with? 515. So he ended his career with 515 points in 833 games. So he had more points in a shorter amount of time than Scott Stevens did. A lot of people, in my opinion, don't put Rafalski in the top 5 because, listen to me, just listen, hear me out. Hear me out before you dismiss this. Because you automatically say Stevens, Niedermayer in either order, and then even though I love Kenny Daneyko, friend of the podcast, love Kenny Daneyko, production-wise, point-wise, he's not in the top 5, not even close to the top 5. But they'll automatically put him at number 3, like you did. Automatically put him at number 3. It's Mr. Devil. Retired number. Has to be, right? Bruce Driver should be in the top 4, top 5. 100%. I don't care what anybody else says. 100% he should be in the top 4, top 5. Sometimes Rafalski just gets skipped over. And especially there's a lot of fans that are, I don't want to say newer fans of the team, but like if you talk to like the younger generation now and you're like, all right, the top defenseman of the team, they'll go to the ones you know. They'll probably throw like an Andy Green in the top there. They'll probably throw like a Salvador because he's still relevant to the team, being one of the color commentators of the team, right? Or a contributor to MSG. So I think that this goes back to the underrated part of Brian Rafalski. I know he gets a lot of credit, and he does get, and there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, of course he belongs in the top 5, like how you just made that face. But you would be surprised. I'm telling you, you would be surprised at how many people, how many Devils fans you talk to, and they don't even mention him like, oh yeah, one of the better defensemen that the Devils ever had. You'd be surprised. I'm telling you. It's like one of those weird things that like some people like, oh yeah, oh hell yeah, he's up on he's way up there, and some people don't even like bring him up. He's
well, first off, I want to say that Brian Rafalski did not have more points than Scott Stevens. Scott Stevens had,
not Stevens. So Niedermayer.
Niedermayer had more points as well.
Not career totals. I'm not. Brian Rafalski in 833 games had more points than Scott Niedermayer had in 892 games. That's what I was trying to get to.
You're saying Rafalski's whole career versus Niedermayer's career on the Devils.
Career with the Devils, yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so so Niedermayer then went on to have 740 career points. So then, I mean, that's a pretty, I don't know. I don't know if that's a solid argument right there.
Putting him in the top 3? I'm not saying he's better than Niedermayer or Stevens. I just believe he should be at least number 4 or number 5 in the top 5 of all time in the history of this team.
I mean, I think that's where he is basically. I put him in like top 4, top 5. I would argue. You could argue Andy Green, just for longevity and, more defensive prowess with Andy. I mean, Brian was a points machine, What? I mean, he did. Who was he playing? Wasn't he playing next to Stevens as well? Yeah, he was. Yeah, I mean, you can't fault a guy for his defensive partner there, but I don't know. I think he's right where he should be. I think he's like your number 4 or 5 defenseman of all time. And then, Green, Rafalski, right there. Bruce Driver, Colin White. I mean, that's where you get like the Driver and the White stuff right after that. I mean, I think the fun debate is Andy Green or Brian Rafalski. So you have someone who was the captain of the team for a long time, someone who was on the team when it definitely wasn't as good, let's just say, in some of the more leaner years here, and they still produced a lot and were a hell of a defenseman back there. Whereas opposed to, Rafalski, I think when you got Scott Stevens as your partner, it's a little bit easier. Just got to go out there and just wing it and, let it fly. You really got to worry about too much afterwards. So I think that's where the debate will come in. Andy Green's captaincy, and his longevity on the team and just being there through some lean times and still, I think producing defensively. Andy ate up some big minutes, in some tough times on the team. And a lot of games. And Andy Green also, much like Rafalski, was they're both like little what do they call them? Diamonds in the rough, like Rafalski was up in Finland when Lou plucked him out. Andy Green was undrafted out of Miami of Ohio, Miami of Ohio. So, having those two guys up there, not big, like huge prospects, not big monster, juniors players and everything like that. Having two guys like that kind of out of nowhere, even in your top 10. I mean, we're talking about top 5 all time, but two of these guys were just not even drafted. Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. What's funny is I was looking at, by the way, thank you to everybody that's listening on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere across the globe, around the world.
So, hang on. So what would you say? You're gonna say Rafalski over Green or Green over Rafalski?
Rafalski over Green.
You're saying Green over Rafalski? Okay. See, I'm
saying Rafalski over Green, 100%.
Are you all right? So we're opposite on that.
But if Rafalski ended his career as a Devil, I think would that change your perspective on it? Because I think I'm not saying how you whatever. I don't know how to put this. I feel like you're looking at the longevity of Green's career over the production of Rafalski's career.
I look at it also in a defensive state too. I mean, Rafalski was good defensively, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Andy Green just held the fort for so long with so little and like no support. And like I said, he's much like Rafalski, he's an undersized defenseman. And I thought Andy Green earlier in his career produced more, but then he had to like really kind of step back and really take that, leadership defensive role. And as the captain of the team, Rafalski was not the captain. I think also being the captain of the team for such a long time, it really states to how much respect, Andy Green had amongst the team. I think amongst the fan base as well. I don't know. I mean, I know people used to blame Andy for a lot of stuff, but I still think they respected him.
Yeah, and I 100% respect Andy Green. I thought he was another one that we were talking about, Paul Martins and some of these guys, and that right now Damon Seaverson, who there's people that are like Sam Wu that wanted him exposed in the expansion draft. But I mean, there's a lot of guys that get a lot of grief. Andy Green was definitely a very serviceable, solid defenseman. Captain of the team, held himself very well as a captain. I think Andy deserves to be in that top 5, as well. But I want to go to a couple of our comments on the YouTube live because I was kind of scrolling through there as we were talking. Posted with Avery said Anton Volchenkov was a beaut, and I cannot agree more because when Volchenkov first got to the Devils from Ottawa, I was so pumped because he was like a shot blocking machine. He was, I don't know. He was just a beast on the back end, and it was, a great acquisition. But towards the end of his tenure as a Devil, it was kind of like, oh my God, Volchenkov. He was one of those guys that started getting
bought out.
He got bought out. He got bought out
Yeah.
at the end, yes. And he was one of those guys that just got really frustrating to watch towards the end there.
No, when the A train came, he was. I was just gonna say when the A train came, he was already on the down slide there. We got like those first season.
Yeah, we got the first couple seasons. He was all right.
Yeah. But then you can see, all right, there's a decline.
The reason why Volchenkov came partly to try to keep Kovalchuk happy.
Kovalchuk,
in New Jersey. The agents were the same: Henrik Talinder, Kovalchuk, and Volchenkov.
Imagine being Talinder and sitting in a room and you're right there. They're like, oh, it's Kovalchuk and Volchenkov, and you're like, well, guys, don't forget about me. I'm over here now.
And then Hedberg, right? I think Hedberg, came because of that.
I believe so. Yeah,
because of the same agent.
And Volchenkov, he just got a little too slow. That's all. It wasn't like an effort thing or anything like that. He just he was the same thing. He was just too big, and he just lost a step with those knees, eventually. But he still was like, I talked about Ben Lovejoy like crawling on all fours to block a shot. I saw Volchenkov just like put his face like in the way of a puck one time. I'm just like
100%.
I'm like, are you crazy, dude? Are you friggin'
That was
crazy?
when he was in the prime of it.
No, I saw that when he was on the Devils too. When he
that's what I'm saying. No. That's what I'm saying. He was like, when he was like still in our good graces, we're like, that's when he like was laying on his arms and pulled a goon and just put his face right in front of it.
He just put his face out to block a shot. It's like, are you crazy? But that was the A train. That's what he did. Like he was a shot blocking machine. That was his MO. It always was. And he threw that body too. But yeah,
he played his role well. Posted by Avery just said he played his role well. That's true. All right, so I have a question for everybody out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, on YouTube. For you two knuckleheads here, what is the one defenseman? And there's some of them it's easier. Like, I could, I wish we had this guy. What is the one defenseman that you wish we could have gotten? Whether it be in their prime or whatever. Obviously, you'd want somebody in their prime, but what is the one defenseman that you always wish that the Devils could get? And I'll give you one before you answer this. Dion Phaneuf in his prime. Dion Phaneuf would have fit the Devils pretty damn well, if you ask me. But that's an easy one. That's a layup, right? Thomas Caberlet. We joke around that he was Thomas Caberlet was a Devil for 15 minutes, and then he got kicked out. But Thomas Caberlet in his prime would have been a hell of an addition to this team. But what do you guys think? Who is that one dude, past, present? Maybe it's somebody right now that you watch and you're like, oh my God. Maybe it's Big Z, Zdeno Chara, in his prime.
I got Chelios.
Gaddy27 on YouTube says Chris Chelios. Heck yeah. Cal McCarr. Or however you say that. Hard between him and that's one of those after draft things. Was it easier to draft Nico or Kale? Kale chips. Kale chips.
I'll tell you my top three. Top three. Shea Weber.
Oh yeah,
is one.
Yep.
It's one I was thinking. Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna say
you get the other ones.
I'll just. Ryan Suter, if it meant getting Parisi re-signed.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
At that time.
Not for how much they signed for.
But I would say Robin Regeer. When he was with the Flames. I really liked that guy. I thought he could be in New Jersey and do very well. So those are my three.
Good, Scotty. What do you think?
Well, I was thinking Shea Weber as well. I would have loved to have seen someone like Duncan Keith.
Oh, I see a lot of Chris Pronger. A lot of Chris Pronger on the YouTube there.
Oh, Chris Pronger.
Remember when he bit that guy's finger off?
I'll have to think about, some more modern guys. I don't know. Shea Weber and
Charlie McAvoy.
Shea Weber and Duncan Keith were the two that like immediately jumped into my head. I'll say that. I got to think about the rest.
Drew Doughty. I always like Drew Doughty. I always like Drew Doughty's play on the ice. He would. I don't know. That's another dude. But these are the ones you're cherry picking the best of the best. It's easy to say.
Those
Ray
two.
Bork.
I'd have to look.
How about Ally Afraidy? How about Ally Afraidy and his wicked shot?
Yeah, that
Ally
wicked shot.
or Al
McGinnis. Yeah,
I was just gonna. Yeah.
Let's see. We got a couple. Bobby Orr. Yeah, sure. Even after he retired. Lay it out there, Bobby. I don't know if you're ever gonna get out of Boston.
No, I think I gotta think more about that. But I mean, I think those two. Who else do I feel like really fits being a Devil? I don't know. I feel like Keith was a good all around. Shea Weber as well. Just that big bruising style, stay at home, smart, heady defenseman.
Adam Foote. He would have been a good defenseman.
What about Brian Leach? Brian Leach was pretty good, wasn't he? Lindstrom. I love seeing some of these because obviously, but it's true though. Like if you had the pick of the litter, Nicholas Lindstrom, oh my God, that dude was one of the best of all time.
Beast.
You know what? I might also go with another back in his heyday during that first Chicago run. I might take Big Bufflin as well. If I can go back to that year that they won that first year when he was just a rover, basically just all over the ice. Yeah. I take him, Keith, and Shea Weber. There you go. That's my defensive core right there.
There you go. Well,
let's have at it, boys.
Before we get to the end of the show, I mean, looking at the defensive core that we have right now, one of the things that we can look at is this team is, the best, the worst of all time. The cool thing about the Devils coming up this season is that they have a pretty much a rebuilt defense. You bring in Dougie Hamilton. You think this is going to revitalize somebody like PK Subban, who wasn't really having a bad season last year. Keep in mind, if it wasn't for COVID, that kind of knocked him out. Damon Seavers and Ty Smith, you're hoping that Ty takes the next big step. You could see the potential that he had last year. You just hope that he keeps to mature and really take that next step to become an elite defender in the league. Adam Fox, by the way, that's another name that I'll throw. I hate talking about people across the river, but Adam Fox is a kid that I would love to have on this team.
As much as you want to hate him, he's so
good too,
because he's a Ranger.
So
but
good.
Yeah, he's really good. And actually, I'm looking forward to him and Ty Smith, being kind of like defensive rivals over there. Because I have a feeling, I have a hope. I have a hope that those two might be in the running for some Norris trophies in the near. I mean, out of facts already, but maybe Ty Smith as well. So, yeah. I look forward to that actually.
I do too, and I look forward to the potential of what this team has built in the back end. Ryan Graves coming in. There are a lot of big bodies back there too. You hope that Kevin Ball can break into the NHL level. Last year he showed some glimpses, and that's the thing is like this conversation tonight. One of the things that it kind of makes me smile is like we talk about some of the guys that were underrated, some of the guys that we love, some of the guys that were like we had high hopes for. You look at the team now as it's kind of constructed. Who do you have the highest hopes for outside of Ty Smith? Obviously, everybody has a high hope for him. Outside of Ty Smith, what is the one guy or two guys on this, maybe on the roster right now? Maybe they're in the AHL. Maybe they're in the minors. Maybe they're in college. Luke. But what are two guys or three guys that you feel you have the highest hopes for coming up and for the defensive side of things?
Do you want me to go first?
Whatever you want.
You want to go? Go ahead, Sam. Do you want to go? Go ahead.
I think the defenseman of the future that's going to be very, very interesting is Shakir Mcfadden. He's such a mystery, and it's a hit or miss, feast or famine with him. He's another Chara, potentially. The size, physical gift, just a raw talent, huge upside. If he's and the beauty of what Fitzgerald has done with this team, he doesn't have to rush him. Yeah. He'll spend one more year in the KHL. He'll come over. They don't, because with Dougie Hamilton there and the top 6 there for the next 2 years, you don't have to rush him. He can develop and hopefully he can play the North American game. That's what we hope. And I think that's somebody that I think would be overlooked, and it cost Blake Coleman to get him. So that's what I think.
For me, it's just, well, I guess I can't say. Can I say Ty Smith? Because, or I'll say someone else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with. Kevin Ball, Riley Walsh. They all look good. Nikita Hoytuk, Michael Vukojevic, Muhammad Dulin. We got a lot of young guys here that have a lot of potential. We know they're not all gonna hit. But if we get half of these guys to hit, we're going to be looking really, really good, Man, I know they just resigned to Hoytuk and Vukojevic. You know what? I'll go Hoytuk.
You just like saying his name.
I just like saying his name.
You like to say his name.
Kevin Ball and Riley Walsh and Sam said Muhammad Dulin already. If I can't say Ty Smith because he's already on the other two, I'll let you have Walsh or Ball. All right, I'll go with a Hoytuk as a he's not an oversized defenseman, but he plays with a lot of toughness. He's like I think he's 6'1", or 6 foot. He's not like a massive dude, but he plays with a lot of grit. So I'm hoping to see some things from him.
Yeah, dude, honestly, and by the way, what's up to everybody over there on YouTube and Facebook and everything? I see a couple of Riley Walsh, Kevin Ball. I see DMAC G117 just says hello there. Like, what's up? And I'm going to mess up this name because I can't. Everybody knows that's been watching this forever. I can't pronounce names, just who I am. Daniil Misyul, Misyul. Gaddy 27 says, I can't wait to see defensive D-man. And that's right. There's a lot of guys that are kind of in the system now that kind of get lost in the fray because we do have a couple of those names that really excite us, a la a Luke Hughes, who is the one that I'm going to bring up. Luke Hughes is one of the defensemen that I'm really excited for in the next couple of years. He's not going to make an appearance, obviously, this year or maybe even next year.
That's a cop-out.
No.
We're all excited for Luke Hughes. Give me a break.
But listen.
Come on. I could have said that. That's an easy one.
It is an easy one. It is an easy one. But something that's really exciting about what's happening to this kid's maturity is everybody's going back to Michigan this year, and he's playing on a powerhouse of a hockey team. And if that doesn't speak volumes to what this could do for his maturity, for his game, he's not going to have to be the top defenseman on the team. You got Owen Power, number 1 overall pick, coming back, for crying out loud. So he's not going to be relied on to be the stud on the team. You look confused.
Owen Power's going back to college?
Yeah, you didn't know that? Like, the entire team is going back. Owen Power's going back. Bernier's going back. Or Brenner, whatever the hell that kid's name was.
Are you sure?
100%. 100%.
It's all over the internet.
The big three. The big three's going back. They have pretty much, I think, everybody that got drafted last year.
I'm sorry, I'm not up on my Michigan college hockey. All right.
Well, you better.
Me.
Jeez,
gosh.
Go Wolverines, for crying out loud. But Luke Hughes, yeah, obviously, big name, big kid, whatever. There's a lot of potential there, blah, 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 blah. But I'm really excited to see what's going to happen this year with them. in
Hughes.
how does this affect him? How does this affect him maturity wise? This is make him jump. Let's say they win a national championship this year. Does he automatically jump to wanting to get into the NHL the next season? So there's a lot of things to look forward to. Yeah, I get it, Scotty. Yeah, it's an easy cop-out, but it's at the same time, there's a lot of things to be excited about it, and there's a lot of things to watch with him. If you wanted my under-the-radar guy...
Hey, Sam, I got this prospect we should check out. I think he might do things. His name is Zach Parisi. I marked my words. I think he might do something.
Oh, my God. Suck a bag of eggs.
I think this guy, Martin something. I think he might have the goods. Jeez.
Hey, wait, I got to give a
tough sell there.
I got to give a what's up to. It says Lil Fireboy 87. I'm just learning some history of the Devils by listening, but I run the Ryan Graves fan page, so I'm excited to see.
Here?
Yeah, you don't learn.
Boy,
not with that guy. Yeah. But hey, this dude, he runs the Ryan Graves fan page, so I'm excited to see what the whole defense will do now with Graves and Hamilton. Yeah, me too, man. I'm excited. I'm really excited for Graves. I think Graves is a great addition to the team.
We talked about it. I don't think you were here, Beer Baron, but we talked about Ryan Graves being he was a true Devil because he was drafted by the Rangers, but they gave up on him, and he ended up getting drafted, sent to Colorado, and then his first goal was then scored against the Rangers. Look at that.
There you go.
A little punch in the face there to our those guys in blue. So I think right there he's always been a Devil, really at heart. You know, he's always wanted to stick it to the Rangers. So it's really, Ryan Graves has always just been a true Devil.
Yeah, buddy. So hey, we
look forward to having him on the team.
We look forward to having just revamped defense, the revamped defense. So. Hopefully a resurgence of PK. By the way, PK is in a contract year, right? So this is his last year. Yeah, yes. Man. Some guy he might be
at the deadline. Come on, PK, score some power play goals. Come on.
More. Hey, before I listen. You know what, Sam? Let's jump right into it. My final thought. I'm going to give you my final thought. We're going to talk about PK Subban and my final thought. PK Subban, if he's having a great season, here's something to chew on while you're thinking about this over the week. Before you listen to us next Sunday at 9 o'clock Eastern, wherever you can find us on the Facebook, YouTube, and all that kind of stuff, Twitter and all that jazz. Think about this. If this team is still in contention... He has no idea
what he's talking about there.
I do. Sort of. If this team is still in contention in the playoff hunt, right around the trade deadline, and people are asking for a PK Subban, do you give them up? Or do you hold on to him for the rest of the year?
Sell him. Well, we have too many good prospects we're just talking about. Sell them. If
somebody's willing to take. All right, that's it. That's my final thought.
Oh, someone will. And that's going to be the smart move to make, is to hang on and let PK play. And he may let's hope that he has a monster year and that he does really well for us. But when it comes time to sell some of these older players, like sell. You can still buy some other younger talent, but sell. Get out of some of these contracts here. Get them off the book. I mean, it doesn't matter. PK's coming off the books anyway, but see what you can get for him. See what you can flip him for at the trade deadline. My final thought is, I think that Jack Hughes guy might be good too. I don't know. So, that's a prospect to look out for. Jack Hughes. I hear he might be good.
Hey, John Borkowski runs the Matt Taramina fan page. And he says the traffic.
All right.
He says the traffic is intense.
It's on fire right now. It's right up there with the Ansi Salmela fan page.
And no, nobody can touch that. Samela like. There's a lot of jokes that went along with that name back in the day, but
Nancy, don't call me Salmela.
Yeah. One in particular that I want to say, but I won't say. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sam. Take us home.
All right. Well, this is what I learned.
That Matt Taramina has a website?
No, I think Ken Daneyko is probably the most underrated New Jersey Devil defenseman of all time, because we forgot the amount of penalty minutes, the amount of time he had to defend his teammates, keep them together, led by example, playing injured. He also, if you remember, had to face his own demons in the middle of the season, take some time off, came back with the Masterson Trophy. That's all commendable, and he's a true New Jersey Devil.
Tell that to Beer Baron who wanted to knock him down.
Yeah.
If I could punch you in the face right now, if I could figure out a way,
he's a friend of the podcast. Why would you knock on Dano? He's a friend
I didn't
of the
say
podcast.
he was like number 10. I didn't say he was like number 10 on the list. For crying out loud, number 4. You bump him to number 4 for crying. Oh God.
He's always number 3 at
the next time I see Scotty in person, I'm gonna be like, one of these days.
You'll forget in an hour. Don't worry.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I want to thank everybody
I'll wake
for
up
watching.
in the middle of the night, punch you in the face.
We want to thank everybody for watching, listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast. As of this week, we are ranked number 11 of all time in Apple Podcasts.
John Madden.
Incredible.
Right.
Yeah.
Much better than that Kovalchuk.
Yep. So next week, we'll go over the forwards. Best, worst of all time. I don't know if we're going to split it to centerman, left winger, right winger, whatever. But keep it here.
10B?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We need some content before training camp. Training camp starts. So, but anyway, keep it here. We'll report tomorrow. Till next time, let's go Devils.